Hey there guys, so yeah, Gilberto Ramirez versus Joe Smith. Not a fight I expected to be made, to be honest. I mean, I think everyone expected Ramirez to move up in weight after he failed to make weight against Gabe Rosado, but Joe Smith never really seemed to me to be a guy, he was a guy who was struggling to make light heavyweight or anything. I didn't think he would ever move up to cruiserweight, to be honest, but yeah, after the Batobiev fight, he's chosen to move up to cruiserweight, and neither guy is going into this fight in particularly good form. You look at Ramirez's last fight against Dimitri Bivol. He got schooled. He probably really struggled to make that weight. I mean, he was probably killing himself to get down to the light heavyweight limit, but I don't think he really came to win that night. I think he just sort of went through the motions. I don't think he really put it all on the line, or he gave absolutely everything to beat Bivol. I think he just sort of, took the payday and went through the motions. And I haven't really been that impressed with Ramirez since he was super middleweight champion. When he fought guys like Arthur Abraham and when he was fighting Jesse Hart and guys like that. Since then, he's just been fighting sort of, past their prime fighters like Sullivan Pereira. He's been fighting European level fighters like Dominic Berzel. And just guys like Yunieski Gonzalez. And I think he's been going through the motions a bit. I don't think, obviously those guys aren't really a test for him, so he can just cruise through those fights without any problems. He can just breeze through them because he's fighting guys who aren't really on his level. And obviously that probably wasn't the best preparation for Bivol. He wasn't really sharpening his skills. He wasn't really honing his craft or anything. And it probably cost him in that fight, to be honest. Joe Smith isn't really coming into this fight in very good form either. I mean, obviously his last fight was about 15 months ago, I believe, when he got stopped in 2 rounds by Artur Beterbiev. When he got knocked down, I believe it was 4 times in that fight. And before that, I think he had like a routine title defense after the Callum Johnson fight was called off, but he won the title against Maxim Vlasov, and I believe he lost that fight personally, and a lot of other people do as well. It was a majority decision, and I thought Vlasov had done enough to win. And a trend about Joe Smith is he tends to struggle against guys who box on the back foot, maintain the range. You look at his fights against Dimitri Bivol, and obviously Maxim Vlasov. He tends to he's admitted himself that he tends to struggle against that style. The guys who box on the back foot, the guys who maintain the range, and he has a lot of success when there's someone like Elida Alvarez in front of him who's quite low volume, who he can just sort of walk through, or when he's fighting someone like Fonfara who'll just stand in front of him and have a brawl. But when there's someone who is backpedaling from him, maintaining the range, he does tend to struggle. And I think this fight being at cruiserweight will definitely benefit Gilberto Ramirez. I mean, obviously as I've said, he failed to make weight against Gabe Rosado. He missed the limit by about 12 pounds. And it was obviously he was killing himself to make super middleweight and light heavyweight. And it was probably taking a lot out of him, when he was getting down there. And since he's moved up to cruiserweight, I think this is more of his natural weight. He'll be able to come in at about, he'll become able to come in at 200 pounds. He should have a renewed sense of energy. He should be a lot fresher in the, he's not going to leave everything in training, making the weight. I think he should really bring a lot more to the table now than he was when he was killing himself to make the weight. And there's quite a lot of questions about Joe Smith moving up to this weight. Obviously he's been a career light heavyweight. I don't think he's ever really struggled to make the weight. And it'll be interesting to see how his power translates going up in weight, whether he still has the same power at cruiserweight that he did at light heavyweight. Because, his power at light heavyweight is very good, but he's going to be fighting much bigger guys at cruiserweight, and Gilberto Ramirez will have quite a big size advantage, I'd say. He's naturally bigger than Joe Smith. He's taller. He's got a longer reach, I believe, and his frame is bigger. And but by the time they rehydrate and when they're on fight night, I think Gilberto Ramirez will outweigh Joe Smith, maybe by more than 10 pounds. And it'll be interesting to see how Joe Smith's power is against someone who's bigger than him, because we haven't really seen him in with someone who outweighs him by a certain amount. I mean, he did fight Jesse Hart, but I mean, Jesse Hart was just running that night. He didn't even really come to win. He didn't try to win the fight. He was just pot shotting from the outside, just running. And yeah, as I've said, I think guys who box on the back foot are quite a difficult style for Joe Smith. And I think Gilberto Ramirez, he's not the best style for Joe Smith. He's a southpaw. He's got very good boxing skills when he's on his game. And I think, everything favours him going into this fight. The loss against Bivol, that was probably just, a weight problem. But Joe Smith's loss against Artur Beterbiev, maybe that took everything out of him. I mean, he was very punishing. And obviously Ramirez is bigger. He's got better boxing skills. He's got better punching technique. When Joe Smith tends to fight someone who has better punching technique than him, look at the Sullivan Barrera fight. Look at the Artur Beterbiev fight. They tend to be able to piece him up because his shots are very wild and there's a bit more neater on the inside. They're a lot shorter, and they're able to hit the target first. And I favour Gilberto Ramirez to win this fight. I think he'll win this fight on points. I think he'll outbox Joe Smith. I think Joe Smith will have his success in this fight. I think, he'll be able to land some eye-catching right hands and, he'll land some decent jabs because he has got quite a decent jab. But I think Gilberto Ramirez will win this fight. I think he'll win a fairly wide decision. And I think he'll probably look quite good in this fight, just being at his natural weight. I think Gilberto Ramirez by unanimous decision. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. God bless.